What's good everyone, Shurit here, and today we are finally bringing you the deck profile you have been seeing in all of my videos. A few people have requested it, and yeah, I'm bringing it to you guys now. This is actually just a note, this is post ban list, so you know, the very effective ban list. You know, have you guys read Misk, by the way? And Very Fun Dragon is gonna dominate the format. But aside from that, let's just get straight into the deck profile, because I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for this. So first things first, one copy of Nekroz of TRISHULA. Yes, finally I've accepted that it's time to play one TRISHULA. For all of the people who used to watch my videos, I used to always play two TRISHULA, but unfortunately the format is the reason for this, to be honest, because you need enough room to be able to play cards that can out the big negation board, and this is a pure version. This is a pure go second version. That's how I think Nekroz should be played. Going first and relying on Christia and relying on the die roll, it just isn't it. At that point, if you want to go first and set up a board, you might as well play, I don't know, Virtual World for VFD. Like, there's really no point. With Nekroz, you want to play second, you want to simplify the game state and then outgrind your opponent. That's what we're trying to do. So Trishula, do I need to explain Trishula? Beautiful card. It's what's funny now is because it's 2020 and 2015 was when Trishula was prevalent. I think somebody in the Discord summed it up pretty well. You know, these Zoomers don't know how Nekroz is played anymore, and they really don't. They don't play around Trish, and it's beautiful because we love banishing one card from the field, one card from the hand, and one card from the graveyard. But moving on, we have one copy of Nekroz of VALKYRUS. It pains me to say this. Valk used to be the bang on, has to always be a free of, but unfortunately it's just a brick nowadays. What's like, yeah, it can end the battle phase, but everyone has negation. Everyone can stop it. So it's good just to search it to protect your UNICORE if you're going first, maybe, or just to summon it to try and gain some advantage. But like, it's just really fallen from grace. It's still an amazing card, don't get me wrong. And the one copy, like, I've cut it before, which I feel ashamed to say. I've cut it before, and honestly, don't cut it, because you always end up missing it. You always get put in situations where you're like, oh, I wish I had a Valk now. So yeah, still playing the 1/0 Valk. I don't expect anytime soon for this card to become a free of again, to be honest. Next up, a card that is a free of. We have 3 copies of Nekroz the Bryonic. I don't think I've ever made a deck profile on my channel where I've said 3 copies of Nekroz the Bryonic. And the reason, well, it was limited, semi-limited, everything. And finally, I am back now. And as I am back, my deck is at full power. So 3 copies of Bryonic. The searcher of the deck, the backbone of the deck is beautiful. What more can I say? And then next up, 3 copies of UNICORE. I mean, maybe UNICORE is the backbone of the deck, to be honest. I am so glad this came back earlier on this year. It's really boosted the deck. It's a little bit power crept. Like, it's not as good as it used to be because everyone plays Imperm and like Dark Rulers and Kaijus, for example. So yeah, it's a little bit power crept, but it's still a good card. It still really like speeds you into your plays. It still gets that Herald in the graveyard. And what's great now is we have Elder Entity, which is really good because if you, for example, I think I've said this before, but if you bait a Dragoon negate and then all you need is Kaleidoscope and UNICORE, you activate Kaleidoscope, you send the Elder to the graveyard, you summon UNICORE, and then Elder pops Dragoon. And the reason why Elder can pop Dragoon is because UNICORE negates Dragoon's effect. So that is a nice way to out Dragoon. But yeah, UNICORE, and now that we have it at free, its effect that cycle stuff back from the graveyard is once again relevant, which really does help grinding and really does help with late game. And then we have standard 2 copies of Nekroz of Colossus. It's really important. When you get through both your Colossuses, you actually have quite a hard time as well. So that's why I don't play 1 copy. Funny story, I was actually watching a 2015 Nekroz feature match the other day. I watch quite a few of them nowadays, to be honest. But somebody was playing 1 copy of Colossus, and I was like, uh-oh, because he used the Colossus on the first turn. And in the end, he ended up pretty much losing because he didn't have another Colossus. So Colossus really is essential. Next up, we play 3 copies of Manju. Yes, Manju, no incantations. They are bricks. They take up room in the deck where you could be playing hand traps, where you could be playing go second cards. So just 3 copies of Manju, the only normal summon in the deck. We're only playing 3 and we're not playing Senju, so there's probably not going to be any clashing. If you draw 2, the statistics of it is it's unlikely that you're going to draw 2, so it's good. It's just the normal summon. It helps with rank 4 plays. It's a great card. There's really nothing more I can say about it. Incantations, yes, I think it's a bit controversial not to play any incantations, but honestly, I think given the format, I think this is the best way to play the deck. Next up, I don't think I've said this on my channel either, have I? 2 copies of Shurit, Strategist of the Nekroz. 2 copies of myself. Beautiful. No, we don't play 1. I've tried playing 1, and you need to. You really do need to, because once Shurit hits the graveyard, you want to still have the other Shurit in deck to be able to gain advantage, and you want to have the other Shurit in deck for when it's a simplified game state, and you then use just discard Brio, get a Shurit, banish the spells from the graveyard, get a cycle, and then you can cycle back using the Shurit, and then use Shurit to get another monster. So it keeps up your card advantage there. I mean, I can't really praise Shurit more than I just have. So yeah, 2 copies of Shurit, really essential, right? So that's it for really the kind of like monsters for the Nekroz strategy. So 10 Nekroz ritual monsters, 3 Manju and 2 Shurit, so that's 15 in total. Next up, we have 3 copies of the Big Boy Rock, 3 copies of Nibiru, the Primal Being. This is really good. It helps against Virtual World, which I anticipate is going to be the top deck, or if not one of the main top decks of the format. It helps against Dragon Link, and now that Link Cross is gone, finally it is effective. The only problem is, as I've said, Misk is not limited, unfortunately. So Nibiru against Dinos is a bit of hit or miss. But considering it really outs every other deck, or really helps against every other deck, I think it's still really important to play it. So 3 copies of Big Boy Rock. Honestly, one of the best design cards ever, to be honest. I'm really glad this card exists. Next up, 1 copy of PSY-FRAME Driver, because we are playing 3 copies of PSY-FRAMEGEAR Gamma. Gamma is so good. Using Gamma on your turn and then summoning an Omega, one of the most beautiful things possible. It helps against VFD, because even with Virtual World, they can't use the Virtual World trap to be able to out your like infinite impermanence. So Gamma really is essential in the main deck, especially in Nekroz, considering we're going second. It's an amazing card. If you manage to use it on your turn and get an Omega as well, it's just the best feeling ever. 1 card into a negation and into take a card out of your opponent's hand, which really helps with the grind game, actually, because like I said, we want to simplify the game state and then outgrind our opponent. So next up, we just play 2 copies of Nekroz Kaleidoscope. I'm considering playing 1, but I think 2 still is important. If there is a ritual spell to cut to 1, it's Kaleidoscope. And yeah, I know a lot of people nowadays only play 1. I don't know why. I don't know why people are only playing 1 mirror, because I promise you, I've tried it with 1 mirror, and it really isn't it. It really isn't it, to be honest, because you'll use the mirror and then you can't really use the Shurit in the graveyard with the second mirror. You need prep, and obviously relying on drawing prep really isn't the best. So yeah, 2 copies of Kaleidoscope, and then that's followed up by 2 copies of Cycle. Cycle, amazing. Don't cut Cycle to 1. Cycle is really important, considering, like I keep saying, you want to be grinding out the game. So 2 copies of Cycle, and then 2 copies of Mirror. Cut it down to 1 if you guys really want to, but trust me, if you're playing this version of the deck, you're really going to miss it. And next up, one of my favorite cards of all time, 3 copies of Preparation of Right. Ripping Preparation of Right off the top of your deck has to be the best feeling ever. As a Nekroz enthusiast, as a Ritual enthusiast, I absolutely adore Preparation of Rites. I'm so glad it's at 3. It was at 3 quite a while back, to be honest, but now with Brio at 3, with UNICORE at 3, with Shurit at 2, with Shurit at 3, sorry, I'm playing 2, but Shurit's at 3. And Preparation of Rites at 3, it's just great. I love it so much. And then one more searcher, we play the Reinforcement of the Army, because it helps get to your Shurit, it helps get to your close list, it makes it a bit more consistent. And next up, we play 3 copies of Pot of Greed. Yes, Pot of Extravagance. It's not exactly Pot of Greed. Essentially, it is Pot of Greed in Nekroz. It's an amazing card. I'm so glad it came out. It really does boost the deck. The only clash it does is if your opponent puts up a big negation board and you have Extravagance, if you activate Extravagance, and you also have a Dark Ruler no more or something else in hand, it's just the fact that it has to be activated at the start of the main phase. I think that's the one that's the major drawback, because if you activate it, it's just going to get negated, and there you can use Dark Ruler no more, but then you've wasted an Extravagance, which means it's probably best not to play the Extravagance, so you have to wait till the next turn to use it, which isn't that bad, but even then there's a little bit of a clash there. But you can't pass up playing 3 copies of Pot of Greed, essentially. And then, like I just said, 3 copies of Dark Ruler no more. Borrowload Savage, Dragoon, no. Herald, no. Nothing. I don't want anything to do with them. I guess Link Cross is banned, so maybe Herald will become a bit less common. But even like the Dolker and the Ultimate Conductor Tyranno board, no. Don't want anything to do with that. Dark Ruler no more. It's also good against Infernoble now because Smoke Grenade, thank God. Thank God Smoke Grenade is gone. It's amazing now because it actually matters against Infernoble. They won't just snipe it out of your hands. So yeah, Dark Ruler no more. If you're playing a go second deck, especially in a format where everyone's putting up 1,000,000 negates, it's really important. The only thing it doesn't do is stop VFD. But we got Gamma in the main deck, we got Nibiru in the main deck, and we've got a few cards in the side deck to hopefully manage to outplay VFD. But as you guys know, VFD, I mean, very fun dragon. It's really hard, to be honest, unless you manage to draw the right cards. And to be honest, when you're in a situation where it's like, I have to draw this to be able to beat VFD, or I have to draw this to be able to beat this, it's not the best position to be in, to be honest. It kind of shows how degenerate a card is. But then we have 3 copies of my favorite card. I keep saying my favorite card. Also one of my favorite cards. 3 copies of Evenly Matched. For all of you guys who watch my duels, we all know how good Evenly Matched is, especially with Nekroz. You go Evenly Matched, you summon TRISHULA, there's everything gone. You've got the whole field gone, you've sniped the card out of the hand, and you've sniped resources from the graveyard that they can use to make a comeback. It's beautiful. If you can't pull the TRISHULA play off, you can always do Evenly Matched, Kaleidoscope, send Elder, summon Unicorn, and then Elder pops the last card, so that's a complete board wipe. It is essential to play all 3 copies of this card in the deck. And yes, I know the deck is 41 cards. Statistically, if you want to work out using the type of probability that Yu-Gi-Oh uses, which is hypermetric probability, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. It's like it's about a 1% or 0.1% difference in terms of consistency with some cards. Nekroz is one of the most consistent decks going, and every card in this deck, it used to be 40 cards, but then I started playing Gamma in main and then Driver brought it over to 41. I tried to cut Mirror and then I missed it and I put Mirror back. Honestly, the 41 cards, I have seen no difference in terms of my opening hand. So don't be deterrented from playing this version of the deck just because it's 41 cards. But moving on to the extra deck, 1 copy of Blue Eyes Alternative Ultimate Dragon for our level 12, pretty self-explanatory. We can summon TRISHULA and Colossus. We can summon Valkyr and Unicorn or 2 Brios. It doesn't come up too often, but sometimes it does come up and it's kind of important to have it there. Next up, 3 copies of Elder Entity. The reason why we play 3 is because of Extravagance. It is an important card. It helps you out boards, and I really don't want to be playing 2 and banish them off Extravagance because it happens. Trust me, it happens. So I play 3 copies of Elder. Next up, 1 copy of Omega to flex on your opponent when they try and stop you, and you use Gamma, and then you summon Omega. And then next up, 3 copies of Herald of the Arc Light. Once again, the reason we're playing 3 is because of Extravagance. It's one of the main cards in Nekroz. You need it for your Kaleidoscope into Unicorn play, really important. Next up, 1 copy of Baguska. This deck does not like going first, but if it does go first, it can put Baguska on the board. It's not the strongest play, to be honest. It's kind of just like Manju, Unicorn, overlay Baguska, and then add a Valk to hand, so to stop yourself getting OTK'd. Generally, you want to go second. Most decks in the format, aside from Dino want to go second, but if Dino forces you to go second, you can play some of the traps in the side deck, which I'll get to, or some of the disruption cards in the side deck, which I'll get to. So yeah, it's not ideal going first, but Baguska is still important. You can also use it going second, so you can kind of like out-resource your opponent, and then you can summon a Baguska, and then they can't do anything the next turn. You switch monsters to attack mode, and you attack for game. So not too bad there. Next up, 1 copy of Tornado Dragon. Tornado Dragon's really good. It's really good for outing annoying spells and traps. It's really good for outing floodgates. Pretty self-explanatory there. Next up, 1 card that nobody really plays because Xyz have fallen off a little bit since the introduction of Lynx, but 1 copy of EVILSWARM EXCITON Knight. I love it. It's beautiful. It really takes me back to 2015. It has won me games before. If you can play it, I don't see why you wouldn't want to play it. There's room in the extra deck to play it. It's kind of like a pseudo evenly matched. Obviously, it destroys instead, but it's still really good. 1 copy of Dweller. Dweller's good to stop cards in the graveyard. I know the Phantom Knight deck is quite popular now. There's a lot of other decks that use effects in the graveyard, so Dweller's good. Plus, it has that extra effect where it will boost your water monsters, which is great. 1 copy of Cowboy because it's an absolute meme, and Nekroz does have trouble getting exactly 8k damage, so Cowboy can legitimately win you games. There's room in the extra. It really is helpful, and if you guys are going to a tournament, well then you know Cowboy in time, especially with the new time rules, is really good. And then to wrap it up, kind of staples if you're playing a kind of like if you're playing any type of go second, any type of deck, to be honest, if you have the room, 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix and 1 copy of Nightmare Cerberus. Nightmare Phoenix out spells and traps, Nightmare Cerberus out monsters. It's pretty self-explanatory there. So let's quickly move on to the side deck. We have 3 copies of the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere Mode for those negate boards as well, just to make it more consistent for you to be able to break them. I used to play Gameciel in the side deck as well, but since the new ban list, I'm thinking VFD's taking over, so I've replaced Gameciel with another card that you'll see in a second. I really am a bit apprehensive about playing Sphere Mode over Gameciel. Like, it's a weird one. I think you can play either one. It's really up to you. Sphere Mode is amazing when it resolves, but it's a bit more situational than Gameciel. It takes up your normal summon. It's kind of like a weird balance, like the 2 balance cards, so it's really up to you. If you guys prefer Gameciel, use Gameciel. I definitely do recommend that. Sphere Mode's good though. I might even swap out the Sphere Mode for Gameciel. I do need to test the side deck out. The main deck's fine, the extra deck's fine. Just because the new ban list dropped recently, I do need to test the side deck out, and one of the things that I may change is the Gameciel. Next up, 3 copies of DENKO, 3 copies of DENKO SEKKA. It's just, nobody expects it. Everyone's like, what, DENKO SEKKA? Are we in 2016? Are we in 2015? Nobody expects it. You normal summon it Paleo, like, huh? You normal summon it Dogmatica Invoked, like, huh? And it's great. I absolutely love DENKO SEKKA. One of my favorite cards. What I love about Nekroz is it's just, even in the non-Nekroz cards, some of the cards I play, like Prep. I guess Prep is technically a Nekroz card, but it's kind of generic. Evenly Matched and DENKO SEKKA, just absolutely amazing cards. And trust me, try it out. You have to play Nekroz with DENKO SEKKA, especially when you barely have any normal summons. Even if you put DENKO in, that's 6 normal summons. That's absolutely normal, to be honest. And you probably won't see DENKO and Manju in your opening hand at the same time. So I really do recommend trying DENKO SEKKA out in the side deck. A lot of people do enjoy playing heavy back row decks, and DENKO SEKKA really punishes them. Talking about back row decks slash degenerate spell and traps in general, 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, Mystic Mine. Bye-bye. We really don't like Mystic Mine. I'm just, no. Evenly Matched is good against back row decks. DENKO SEKKA is good against back row decks. And then the 2 Cosmics are good against back row decks. And with the next card, which is Harpie'S Feather Duster, also good against back row decks. So if you're playing against a back row deck, that's 9 cards you can potentially play to out them, which is really good. I think really consistent. Next up, right, this is solely for Very Fun Dragon. It also works against Zexal. But yeah, we're playing 3 copies of Sky Striker Mecha Widow Anchor. Now, Widow Anchor is good because unless they have the trap card for Virtual World, Widow Anchor, if you're going second, will out VFD. If they have the trap card, they still have to pop their own VFD, which is okay. You only get zoned out for 1 turn. And Nekroz don't do too bad against VFD, because if they don't know what you're playing game 1, you can still use your monsters in the hand, and you can still do a Kaleidoscope play and summon a Unicorn, and you can use the Elder in the graveyard if they haven't declared light, or you can use the Herald in the graveyard if they haven't declared light. So it doesn't completely zone you out, so it's not too bad, but obviously VFD is a problem. So 3 copies of Widow Anchor. This is actually what I swapped Gameciel out for. I considered Forbidden Chalice, but then I realized Widow Anchor exists, and Widow Anchor's not half bad late game as well, because when you're playing Nekroz, quite a few spell cards, so you may even be able to mind control the monster too. And then to wrap it up, once again for VFD, and also for other decks in general, if Dino forced you to go first, you can play this. 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Imperm is good, of course. It stops VFD, even if they have the trap, just like I'm saying, same concept as with Widow Anchor. I don't think I really need to explain Impermanence. It's a staple, to be honest. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the deck profile. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Please do try out the deck, because it really feels like playing 2015 Nekroz again. I'm a proper Nekroz purist, to be honest. I don't play incantations. Also with Dogmatica. Dogmatica are good, but the problem is, if you have to rely on going first with Dogmatica to an extent, yeah, you can go second as well. But if your opponent set up a negation board, I really want room to be able to play cards like Dark Ruler no more, to be able to play cards like Nibiru, to be able to play cards like Evenly Matched. I have so many different cards in my deck that can out other cards, and then I just rely on the Nekroz monsters to get me to the winning point. I think it's really important to try that out. Yeah, Incantation, Dogmatica, Nekroz, they all have really high ceilings, but the problem is with decks that have high ceilings and no break board cards, or not enough break board cards, you're just going to lose to Savage Dragon and Herald, and you're going to lose to VFD. It's really important to be able to find the balance, and I think this is probably the best way to play the deck. Now, And this deck is fairly competitive. Like, it will get you quite far against rogue contenders. You will win against the meta. I'm not saying you're going to win 100% of the time, but you will win against the meta. I don't want to say occasionally. I think 50% of the time when I played against Dragon Link, when I played against Virtual World, at least 50% of the time I find myself winning, which is good. A deck that can cause a problem for us is Eldritch, but once again, Denko, Sekkas, Cosmic, Harpies, evenly matched, really is quite good against the Eldritch matchup. I guess Harpies isn't as good because they have Graveyard Effect, but Cosmic, Denko evenly is quite good against the Eldritch matchup. So once again, guys, you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. I really hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Try it out if you guys want. Maybe even tell me if you think there's any improvements needed, any suggestions. I'm more than open to any suggestions. I think this is the best way to play the deck right now. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This has been Shurit. Banish free.